Hi everyone. The second part. I've moved. Still trying to find a place where no one's using it, where I can yell at the computer here. So we're on to the second part of Amitav Ghosh in an Antique Land. The second part of the second half. And so we were on page 200. We were talking about the um, ladder of development, and I was reading from the text talking about how the Egyptian peasants feel like they have been bypassed by civilization. Um, that because they live in a poor country with mud-walled houses and cattle-drawn plows. I'm on 201 here. Uh, those objects, those houses and plows, their own homes, were insubstantial things, ghosts displaced in time, waiting to be exorcised and laid to rest. It was thus that I had my first suspicion of what it might mean to belong to a historical civilization. And it left me bewildered because, for my own part, it was precisely the absoluteness of time and the discreteness of epochs that I always had trouble in imagining. He, you can tell from this book, just jumps back and forth from one civilization to the other. But for the Egyptians, it's only now. It's only ever now. In any case, uh, we we are reading it through the eyes of modernity, and I wanted to get some pictures up here of Ozymandias, Ramses II, that I couldn't find. I was looking on my Facebook, but I couldn't get Facebook to load. In any case, here is Ramses II, uh, the statue that I think of. This is in Memphis um, in the old Ramses ruled from southern Egypt. He ruled from the Valley of the Kings in Luxor, which is where the capital was when he was around. I don't know, New Kingdom or Middle Kingdom, something like that. But he put a lot of his statues around the Old Kingdom because these were the old guys, the Khufu and the other the pyramid builders from the long ago. So he got into all that. Here's his face. This is the shattered. What was the poem? I don't have it anymore. Ozymandias. Yes, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor read those passions well. Those passions which yet survive, stamped on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them and the heart that fed. We can see all this in the pictures of Ramses in his um, face, so carefully drawn, uh, his sneer, right? He's got that half smile that says, "I am the overall boss. I am the most powerful person that's ever lived on the planet, and here I am in enormous proportions." But it's all over. Now you're just a poor country, and life in the poor countries is anachronistic. Those objects, those mud-walled houses and cattle-drawn plows, were insubstantial things, ghosts displaced in time, waiting to be exorcised and laid to rest. Sidi Abu Kanaka, this is the ancestor of Imam Ibrahim, the Abu Kanaka lineage, the patron saint of the village. Many years before, but long after his death, when the government was building canals, he made it impossible for the government canal builders to run the canal through the middle of the graveyard, which would have disturbed all the rest of the people there, the people buried. His spirit forced machines to go around. In that space, the people raised a maqam, that is a mausoleum shrine, and later began the Maulid on his birthday. He also began to protect the people of Nashawi, and we'll see this again. This is pretty common in the Muslim Middle East, as it is in the Mediterranean, Catholic Mediterranean. Lots and lots of saint shrines and making pilgrimages to these shrines and that sort of thing. Very regular. Taha is the caretaker of Ghosh's rented house in Lataifa. He is a desperately poor man, but very resourceful, knowledgeable and discreet, who based his buying and selling of leftovers on his own knowledge of who needed what, when, and why. He's scrounging his way through life. The owner of the house was an absentee landlord. Taha is childless, and he's concerned to avoid the evil eye because he has such a wonderful position as an actual professional. He's got a job um, as a caretaker. And so he's afraid of the evil eye. He's afraid of other people being jealous of him, the jealousy that is associated with having something that other people want. And so he has to use magic to help his wife conceive a baby. His definition of magic included a visit to the government clinic for a shot. So for a lot of people, magic can also be a clinic. Ustaz Sabri, this is a very well educated man, which reduced his importance in the eyes of Sheikh Musa, all this book learning. Did not believe in the evil spirits. He's secular, progressive, and rationalist. He and the other young educated people discount the knowledge of Imam Ibrahim because the Imam is ignorant of secular history, geography, and politics. Ustaz Sabri follows quote-unquote Orthodox Islam and helps raise money for the Mujahideen in Afghanistan. We can see here just how wacky the Muslim Brotherhood is, in that they are people who are secular, progressive, and rationalist, but also Orthodox Muslims. That it's that the Islamist movements are multiple and varied, and for every person like ISIS or Al Qaeda, who are growing out these long beards and being very sort of ultra traditional, you've got just as many people in the Muslim Brotherhood who have very small beards, if beards at all. Very often they're shaven. Very highly educated, often very wealthy business owners. They're big into the professions and into small business. Who are just as religious and in many ways just as extreme in their ideas, but the polar opposite of the Salafis that we typically see, the sort of the much more traditional people. Nabil, his father Idris, was the village's watchman, which paid ridiculously low wages. Uh, but Nabil's mother had taken Ali, the oldest son, out of school and put him to work in the fields to fund the education for his siblings. So she pays for Ali's wedding as a consolation for his sacrifice. After all that sacrifice, Nabil graduates from college and then goes off to Iraq to work in the oil fields because he can't get a job. And this is something that we don't understand because we are Americans and we have the American liberal arts system. So where we are here in the United States, if you want to go to college, you can go to college. You figure out some way to get your way there. You can go to community college. You can go directly to university if you have money. You can take out loans. And when you get there, if you want to major in art, you major in art. If you want to major in business, you major in business. You just choose your own major. And typically go into debt, maybe 25 or 30 or 50 or $100,000 to do it these days. It used to be, it was just completely free. Or, you paid $50 a semester or something. But back in the day, in other countries, in socialist countries, this is not the case at all. Everything is free. You don't pay one red cent very often in some of these places for college, but you don't get to go. The only people who get to go are the people who, let's see, you take a test at 11 to tell you whether you're going to college, and then you take a test at 14 that tells you what you're going to study in college, and then you take a test at 17 that tells you how good of a college you're going to. So 11, you take the test at 11. That tells you, he's on the college track. He's not on the going to be a mechanic track. And then you take the test at 14, and you find out whether you're headed for medical school. Basically, you're going to go to a specialized high school that's going to prep you for medicine, prep you for engineering, prep you for the arts, prep you for public service, whatever it is, political science. You'll sort of be tracked from throughout high school. And then once you take that test at 17, that'll tell you, are you going to like the best one in the country? Are you going to the second tier? Are you going to the third tier? And that's it. Boom. If you test really well at 11, 14, and 17, then you can be at Harvard the Harvard of France or Germany or whatever, and you won't pay a dime for it. It'll all be covered. Everything you'll get a stipend and everything. You're very well taken care of. And in Egypt, yeah, I mean they'll send you to the best place, and you'll study exactly what they tell you to study. All right. So if you have proclivity for science, they'll say, okay, you're going to be studying chemistry, you're going to be studying biology, you're going to be studying physics. Boom, do it. And that's what you have to study. You get to college and you major in what they tell you to major in. And when you graduate with your bachelor's degree, I mean, you don't really go to, undergrad versus grad. You graduate with your bachelor's degree in medicine, right? You study medicine for 3 years, from 17 to 20. You study medicine, and then you start practicing. Start practicing dentistry or whatever. And if your thing was accounting, that's all you studied for 3 years in college. You never took an art class. You never took a science class. Boom, you're accounting. You just study your accounting, and you get your job as an accountant. And the problem is that this is all centrally planned, and so people graduate with their degree in agricultural economics, and you're getting 500 people a year graduating with the uh, preparation for agricultural economics, and there's 5 jobs a year that open up. So 495 people are frustrated each year and sitting around waiting for they go to the bottom of the list, and then over the next 5 years they may get a position, and when they get that position it's not going to pay very well because we've had high inflation or devaluation of the currency, and basically those professional jobs, people take them for the housing benefit and for the transportation benefit and for the food benefit. There's lots of subsidies in Egypt, and that's what you're really looking for. But they don't take the jobs for the money. They have to scam some other way to get the money on the side. Goodness, we're already up to 12 minutes. So we're going to cut this off and keep on going.